16 of day who knows what of quarantine. And today obviously in TAD Talk, we always have talent amongst talent. But today I've been extremely excited just because we have, honestly, two of the most brilliant musical minds of current day. So today we have these two amazing people right here. If I point down, it's probably not. Where am I on this screen over here? There we go. Down here we have the amazing Christian Phillips, who is currently in Wales. Christian, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. It's late here. It's way past my bed.
What time is it?
Ready to talk. Well, it's just gone, but I get up at like 6, so it's late for me.
Well, that's
but it was worth it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And then over here, I think that way this time. Oh, no, other way this time. It's all reverse. We have the amazing Roger Joseph Manning Jr. from Jellyfish Imperial Drag, just a Licorice Quartet, just one of the most incredible musical minds ever, I think I can say. Not biased at all, I think. Roger, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, thank you. I'm very happy to have this welcome distraction from day-to-day life here in Los Angeles.
Oh, I hear you there. And in terms of everything going on, obviously it's a crazy world out there right now, but hopefully this will get everyone's minds off of everything for a little while, at least for an hour or so. I know we could all use it right now, but today's going to be absolutely incredible. Those of you who have seen TAD Talk before, you know how it goes. Right now, we're going to go into 3 random quick-fire questions for both of our panelists here. And Christian, the first question, I'm going to start with you, okay?
Okay.
The question is, other than where you are right now, where would you like to live?
Lahaina in Hawaii. I worked there for a fortnight, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life.
Lahaina.
So, Lahaina.
What island?
Like the last resort. We can leave it all behind and sail to Lahaina. It's better than Swansea.
Well, that's awesome. That sounds beautiful. I love Hawaii. Love it. Roger, if you, other than where you are right now, where would you like to live?
Well, it would require a time machine, but that would be San Francisco in the 60s, 70s, even the early 80s. I lived there in the early 90s, and it was still fairly creative and artistic, lots going on. And then big tech came in. The whole city got gentrified all at once. All the art got shoved east or further. And culturally, it's a shell of the city it was, in my opinion, but it's still one of the most beautiful cities I've ever had the privilege of visiting and spending time in, and it's just so near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely. My fiance and I visited San Francisco for the first time a couple of years ago and didn't want to leave. It was incredible. All right, question number 2. Roger, I'll start with you on this one. What would you majorly hoard if you found out it was being discontinued?
Well, you see this room behind me?
You've already done it.
Everything I love has been discontinued for decades. I mean, there's certainly, obviously, every week, my God, we're in gear porn overload. Every week, there's a new piece of software or hardware that's like, whoa, why are they just now thinking of that? I need that pedal. And there's plenty of it. But yeah, I mean, the pieces that are near and dear to me, and of course, sound a certain way, are all from the 60s, 70s, 80s primarily.
That's awesome. Okay, I haven't given you this question, but I just thought of it, spurred off of that answer. What is your favorite piece of gear that you own?
I mean, it's such a toss-up. People always ask me what my favorite synthesizer is, because I do enjoy collecting those over the years. And I'm still fascinated by the sound of the Oberheim SEM module, of which of course they made 2, 4, and 8 voices out of, but just the raw tone of that synth engine, because there's not particularly any unique bells or whistles on it, but the raw sound of that synth engine is my favorite. It's just a real personal thing. Again, it's not super unique or eccentric.
Doesn't need to be. I'm not super unique. So that's good. But down here, all right, Christian, second question. What would you majorly hoard if you found out it was being discontinued?
Again, everything I collect is discontinued. vintage arcade machines I collect, and germanium fuzz pedals from the 70s. So I've got all the old hand-built guitar fuzz pedals, but you can't get all the love tone stuff and all the germanium chips because they sound better. So I collect those, and I've got cupboards full of them, and only use the plugins when I'm doing sessions. Never plug them in anymore. Can't recall that sound. You plug them in, you play, you come back, and it's completely different. You never get that sound, which is why they're amazing. But they look so cool. They look cooler than a plug-in.
I visited Christian a couple of years ago in Wales, and walking into his house is like walking into the fun fair from Big. Like, it's amazing. So awesome. All right, Christian, third question.
Yes.
You're given a time machine. You have the ability to go back in time and watch any 3 songs being recorded at the studio. What 3 songs would you like to witness firsthand?
God Only Knows.
Okay.
On pet. Because off of Abbey Road, and Brighter Day from Spilt Milk. Definitely.
Great answer. Absolutely. The amount of I could spend the entire hour talking about that once. We got other stuff to talk about other than that, but great answers. 3 incredible songs. All right, Roger, you're given a time machine. You have the ability to go back in time and watch any 3 songs being recorded in the studio. What 3 songs would you like to witness firsthand?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I mean, at the risk of stating the obvious, it would be Bohemian Rhapsody. I can go into that if you want. Nightingales by Prefab Sprout.
Oh, wow.
And another very obvious one. And there's a little mini doc on YouTube, but it's I'm Not in Love, 10cc.
Oh.
And again, the documentary is so revealing, but I don't care. I want to be a fly on the wall, sit in the corner and go, all right, what are you guys going to do next? and witness it, you know.
My watching right now, and 10cc is his favorite band of all time. He's watched that I'm Not in Love documentary probably 100 times. So the fact that you answered that, he's probably running around the house screaming right now.
Well, that's another thing I like to hoard is I collect multi-tracks and pull them up, and the Beatles ones and the Queen ones and the 10cc ones and all them on.
Well, I'm gonna have to hit you up for some of those, because I have a fraction of those. I've never heard any 10cc multi-tracks. I didn't even know there were any in existence. And that's
ones.
You know, really, if a musician is interested in being a pop artist of any kind, or record maker or musician, there's no need for music school. You just got to sit down with all this stuff and you learn it. Yeah. That's how you make records. I mean, I can't believe these things exist. You know, if I'd been in high school and anything remotely like that wasn't available, let alone all the jazz footage that we now get to see of all of our heroes from the 60s and 70s. Yeah. There's no excuse for sucking as a musician now. My God.
Only an excuse for not making money as one. Right. But no, this is really cool. And both of you guys have incredible careers currently and in the past. And a lot of today, I want to be talking to both of you about how you started, how you got where you are today, your influences, your inspirations, and how you write and why you wrote the songs you did. So, Christian, I'm going to start with you. Tell us it from the beginning.
Okay. My dad was the original bass player in the Ivies, which later became Badfinger. And due to an accident that he had, he couldn't pursue that career. So the bass was always there. I learned heavy metal songs on the bass. My grandfather was a conductor. He conducted orchestras and people like Segovia and stuff like that. So there's always music around. And I rebelled and wanted to become an architect because I didn't want to. There was just too many musical instruments around, but it finally took a hold. Play guitar over fashion, went down that pop route, record deals, playing for artists. Ended up, when was this? God, 2009, ended up writing and scoring for some films. That was when I won a BAFTA for that. And yeah, I've just been busy ever since. I play live in some things, I do sessions, I do a bit of composing for film and TV, jingles, scores, whatever will pay the bills. And at the minute, I'm working for your company, and I'm writing some music for a fitness app called TV.fit. I write that, and I'm doing Colin Blunstone's new album. It's amazing because he's the world's nicest human. And he'll ring me up and tell me, like I'll tell you a great story. The Mellotron that's on Odyssey and Oracle was John Lennon's Mellotron that they left in Abbey Road. They were the next band in.
Oh my God.
So Agent just went, I'm going to use this. And they said, you can't, it's John Lennon's. He said, well, I'm using it anyway. And that's all. So they had to play it really quickly just in case John came and took it away. So all the Mellotron slammed down on that album, on one of the greatest albums ever made, because they just left it there from Sgt. Pepper. And those I'm on the phone. That was this afternoon. I'm just on the phone, and he'll just tell me little stories like that. It's great.
That's so
Love it.
And obviously, like with your original music, you have obvious inspirations, and a big part of what we're going to be talking about today, because Roger's here, is Jellyfish and the crazy impact they had on the music industry. But I know Jellyfish is one of your biggest inspirations, and you actually got on an album with a recorded version of a Jellyfish song that you did with Sonic Executive Sessions, right?
I spent the last 20 years trying to write a Jellyfish song, and it's never happened. But
we have that
piano with a Hammond organ and a Wurlitzer, and trying to. I can't do it, but I'll solve the puzzle one day.
Well, you got pretty close with this one. Let's check out that "Hello" video from Christian.
All right,
Hello, how do you like the show so far? Well, it's alright, but you sound too much like a bird I saw last night. Truth or dare, let me spill your burdens up over the skies. 'Cause the song's for you and I just sing it's real. Just tell me how you feel and tell me where I am. Oh, tell me goodbye. So long, and we'll be back in your hometown.
Such a great song.
Woo!
Well done. Incredible.
like I say, I picked that song because it was a live track that hadn't been produced, and there was no way that I was going to try and replicate any of those. So perfect. I thought the only shot I've got is if I do something that was never recorded in the studio. If I didn't want to go near the other stuff. It was too well done, and you're near it. So there you go.
Well, that's incredible. Well, let's talk about your original stuff, Christian. When did you start Sonic Executive Sessions?
Well, that was MySpace. Okay. So I know it's a daft name, but the studio I work in is called Sonic One Studios. A guy called Tim Hamill owns that, and he just had free. I always would get called in to do like guitar or keys or harmony sessions, and then one day he just had some free time. He said, "Do you want to come down and write some songs?" So we did, and we put it on MySpace, and the response was like, Nick, you probably don't. You were probably like 3 when MySpace came out or something, but I would literally wake up because I'm in the UK. I would wake up and open up my emails, and there would be like Carole King or the lady that wrote Black Velvet or Donald, like all these cool people were on there, and they were telling you were good. So we would just write another song, and another song. And there was all these people. That community was great because there was all these people that loved Roger's music. And they were, it was the first time that social networking meant that you could find people that liked what you liked and just become friends with them. And it was an amazing time. So that was the only reason that album got done, was because people would just say, "We like that. Can we have another one?" So when we had studio time, we'd go and write another one, try and write Spilt Milk 2. And like I said, one day I'll write it.
Well, tell us a story behind 17 Over You. We'll show a clip of it in a little bit, an audio clip, but this is probably my favorite songs from Sonic Executive Sessions.
Right, I'll tell you exactly why I wrote that song. It's because there was a guy called Josh Fix who brought out an incredible album, and he was on MySpace at the time writing his album. He would post something that inspired me to write a song, and he was very, like, at the time, he did this EP called Steinway the Hard Way, and all these people like Eddie Halen and Billy Joel and all these guys just fell in love with him and just asked him to hang out. And so I became friends with him on the whole MySpace thing, and he wrote a couple of songs, and I thought, I want to write a song like that kind of Billy Joel, a bit New York 70s sound. Yeah, and I think it's got a weird chord in the chorus that I don't know what it is. But it enabled me harmonies on it. So I like that. It's a G something.
There's only a few things you can make with it.
But that's pretty much the story about Josh Fix, who made one great album. Like every now and again, because he's a film composer now, and every now and again he'll turn up and say, like, I've got to do a version of Hey Jude for Tokyo Disneyland. Can you do the harmonies for it? So you'll throw that kind of. So we still keep in touch. So I do, like, if you go around Tokyo Disneyland, there's every chance you'll hear this Welsh voice singing some Beatles BVs, half English, half Japanese, like all the easy, like we do the na-na-na-nas in Japanese.
Well, let's take a listen to 17 Over You from Sonic Executive Sessions.
Thanks, man.
But she's running out of time, and anyone knows that she had every chance to get by. She went and told the line and watched all those chances go. Oh no, 17 feels like a world away. I still remember anyway. All the things that we all went through, and I'll never get over you.
So incredible. So incredible. There's also a version of that on YouTube that he just breaks everything down and just leaves the vocals in there, a stack of vocals. And the harmonies he puts in that song are just amazing.
Thank you, man.
Incredible.
Building and technique and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. That with a high level freshman, and that's all the school you need.
Absolutely. We need more music like that nowadays, which I know there are some people doing it, but they need to be bigger. Be bigger than they are. But awesome. Christian, you are incredible. Thanks for being on this today, buddy.
Talk to me enough now.
Well, over here we have Roger Joseph Manning Jr. And if anyone watching doesn't know this name, you better start doing your research, because if you are a musician, or if you love music, or if you have heard of music, then you got to check it out. So, Roger, I'm just going to let you. Actually, you know what? I have a question for you before we go into it. Did you realize in the time that you were recording Spilt Milk, or do you realize now how influential it has been on the music community?
No, I mean, we didn't know who was going to pay attention. I mean, obviously we were incredibly surprised by the positivity in different places around the world that Belly Button got. So we knew we had some eyes and ears on us waiting for what our next album was going to be. But, primarily so much of the recording and music making community, musicians, engineers, producers, fell in love with both records. Not everybody, obviously, but it is talked about a lot. And, so, I mean, my God, not to the degree that the Steely Dan records are, but there is a bit of recording reverence for those albums. And of course, so much of that is engineer Jack Joseph Puig. And then, of course, Al B. Galutin, the producer, and Andy and I were coming into our own as producers, arrangers. So it was just a magical combination of creative people at that time. And it never gets old. I mean, I did a bunch of interviews for producer Warren Hewart, which are up online. Literally, it's been we did those the last 9 months to a year. And the accolades continue to come in, thank you for finally talking about the inner workings of the record. And so it still feels good. And I'm so happy that we were able to give the community that gift.
No, absolutely. It's honestly, it's probably my favorite album of all time. And honestly, I'm fairly new to Jellyfish in terms of I've only listened to you for a few years, and I was introduced by Christian, who's on right now. And as soon as I heard it, because I've been inspired by people who have been inspired by Jellyfish, like McFly and Drake Bell and Josh Fix and all of these people. And Jellyfish, I think Christian can agree, is one of those bands that as soon as you hear somebody else who has been inspired by you, you know exactly where that inspiration came from. It's like the Beatles. If you hear the Red Button and you're like, oh yeah, totally inspired by the Beatles. That guy's inspired by Elton John. And then as soon as you hear the inspiration from Jellyfish, there's no mistaking where it came from, especially after you hear Belly Button and Spilt Milk. It's fantastic. But Roger, how about you tell us how you got started right from the beginning? How did you get where you are now?
I'll try to make it speedy. I just turned 54 last week. All I wanted to do was play drums growing up. My uncle was a drummer. My parents, when I was little, took us to see him. Apparently, when I was a little kid, we'd be at a restaurant and The Fifth Dimension, Age of Aquarius, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears Spinning Wheel would come on the radio. I'd get up out of my seat and just start boogieing around like a maniac. So I had the rhythm in me, I guess. But all I wanted to do is play drums. And my parents were smart enough to figure, well, if we're going to spend our money trying to give him music lessons, he'd better learn chords at the same time he learns rhythm. And neither of them are musicians. So they had some insight with this. So it was, you're going to learn guitar or you're going to learn piano. And my grandparents had just donated their old piano to us. So it was piano lessons, which I did because it was easy and it got me attention at the holidays. But all I did was continue to bang on boxes and went over to my friend's house. He had a toy drum set. And I almost quit piano 3 times. There were, when ragtime music happened in the 70s with the movie The Sting, the Scott Joplin soundtrack, my ears perked up because of all the jazz harmony. I'd never heard anything like that because I was being trained on classical to read like every generic piano student is. Then I almost quit again because I wasn't interested. I wanted to play drums. But I discovered that because I could read, I could purchase the sheet music to the music I was hearing on the radio. So whether it was Chicago or Kiss or Peter Frampton or whoever the hell it was, I could figure out the notes, what they were doing. And of course, it didn't sound like the record, but I started teaching myself chords because of that. And then when I finally got to high school, two junior highs merged and a bunch of older kids were now in my class. And there were talented keyboard players, guitarists, well, not many guitarists, bass players, and a lot of drummers for some reason. And all these kids started basically just listen to this. You don't know anything. Listen to this. You don't know anything. And this was right as this is late 70s, early 80s. So you've got the second British invasion of all the incredible new wave and post-punk and goth, synth pop. Everything's exploding out of the UK. You've got I'm catching up on old progressive rock I didn't know about from the 70s, and all the fusion jazz stuff that was happening. So jazz rock is at its absolute peak with some of the best creators of that art form ever, which then drove me back to listen to jazz. Anyway, so high school just becomes this free-for-all, this smorgasbord of digesting as much music as possible. And we'd all save our money up during the week, and on Saturdays we'd go to Berkeley. We lived about an hour outside of Berkeley in the Bay Area. And we'd go there, and Telegraph Avenue, right before you hit the university, had five used record stores. And we would each show up with $20 and buy dollar vinyl. So every week we'd come back with 20 records, and we'd swap each other's albums and tape them all. So it was a free-for-all. And that's how we learned about what we loved, what inspired us, what didn't, what we didn't care for. And we all, thankfully, I grew up with this really forward-thinking collective of young musicians who we all just understood. We don't care what the genre is. Is it quality? Is it saying something? Is it passionate? Is it evocative? So we were listening to disco and punk and old bebop and rediscovering Beach Boys and Beatles deep cuts we didn't know, and all the fusion guys and all the session musicians. All the drummers loved Simon Phillips, so we'd go find every record that Simon Phillips ever played on, and then go, oh, I've never heard of Phil Manzanera. Who the hell is Phil Manzanera? And you'd run over here to this Eno album and blah. And it was just, thankfully, the girls had lost interest in me at that point. So I took all that frustration and I just went into like practice learning mode. But I never wrote a single note. It was all about becoming the best player I could be and getting my chops down as a player and admiring those great improvisers. And certainly admiring record production and, like Tears for Fears, marveling when their first album came out and all that kind of stuff. But never dawned on me to write songs because I enjoyed improvising over and arranging over other people's songs. And then one day my former partner, Andy Sturmer, showed up to school and said, hey, I want to play you guys something. Oh, well, that's you playing drums, right? Yeah. And I'm playing those keyboards too. Oh, really? Wow, cool. Who's singing? That's me too. No, you don't sing. You're a drummer. No, that's me singing. Somebody had to sing this song. Well, who wrote the song? Well, I did. Wait, what? But none of this was making any sense. And it was literally like the best of Missing Persons meets the best of the Police. And he had fused it into like an early sound for himself. And we were just over the moon with fascination and curiosity. And that's really what made all of us start having the songwriting bug. And then I said, well, I'm going to try to write a song, and realized in about first few days, I couldn't write my way out of a box. I could play other people's songs, no problem. I could figure out anything. I had lots of theory and knowledge and wisdom, and none of it provided for writing an amazing original thought. And so I spent the next 3 years crumpling up pieces of paper and throwing them by the trash can, because every idea I had was utter shit. And I didn't want to play it for anybody, and I didn't want to play it for my friends, my girlfriends, nobody. And interestingly enough, one of the first ideas that I felt had any value, that was worth playing for Andy or anybody that I had any respect for, was the original chunk of what became the song Bye 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 on Spilt Milk.
Great
which
song.
Of course would wait around for years before we finally found a place and time where it was appropriate to flesh out the idea.
That's fantastic.
I better stop there. I'll eat up the whole.
No, but I'm just taking it all in. It's amazing. The fact that, I embarrassingly have songs that I wrote when I was 15 up on YouTube, and I didn't think my voice was good, so I put auto-tune on it. It's horrible. The fact that your first attempt at a song was Bye 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 just makes me want to quit.
Well, no, that was after 3 years of thinking I can't do this. I'm gonna let other people do it. It was a very, it's an interpersonal journey that we all take. It was very challenging.
Absolutely. Well, I think with you and Andy and the rest of the band, I mean, I don't even know how to say it. It's so unique what you guys brought to the table. And I honestly think that if the album came out 10 years prior, it would have been the next Sgt. Pepper's in the world. Seriously, it's that good. And you provided most of all the keyboard work and the songwriting for both Belly Button and Spilt Milk. And there's no better way to explain how good they were than to just show you a clip. Let's run a clip of Jellyfish.
Intermission gave way to a miracle. The love of an accident grew to a spectacle that couldn't wait. The mother was 3 weeks late. So Father Mason, clutching his crucifix, baptized the baby in whiskey and licorice. What a lovely way, drowning sins into the grave. Looks like a hero's gonna fall. The vows are bound to break. Standing away, let it fall. Island in your arms as we lie awake with our loves and new mistakes. You better catch me when I fall. My sugar trampoline. Setting away, let it fall. Island in your arms, even though it's wrong, 'cause I love my new mistake. The ending's been tragic when many years later, baby, I'd grown up and married a poor. I guess it was our time to make the first mistake. Any your time at all. Any way that it falls. Any your time at all. Any way that it falls.
Incredible. No words. Absolutely no words. Incredible. We have a bunch of questions flooding in here, and I'm gonna be looking down because I can't remember them all, but I'm gonna ask a few questions that are coming in. So one of them that we have for Roger is, first he said, this is G2 Arcot. Forgive me if I said that wrong. He said, Drake Bell's cover of Fan Club took him in. That's a great cover of it. He wants to know what it was like working with Cheap Trick on the latest album and subsequent tour, and singing back up to Robin Zander.
I was completely surreal. Only Robin was there briefly because, as Christian will tell you, you just kind of show up. Your job is to make the producer as happy as possible, and you get to work. Robin was there for some of the singing when we all arranged some simple background ideas together. And again, I'm trying so hard to focus on not screwing up and doing my job and being a good musician that if I think about the fact that Robin Zander's standing next to me and his voice is still as perfect as it was when he was a young man, then I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'll probably faint. And that was extended when Jason and I were invited to play some of their initial shows of that touring year with them as kind of additional bonus musicians, make the event more special. And I'll never forget the very first concert Jason and I did with them. They had booked their show in a medium-sized club to kind of keep it, special for the fans. And they started the show with Surrender, and I'm way over on one side of the stage by the other keyboard player, and Jason's way over on the other side of the stage by Rick Nielsen. And we break into the opening chords of Surrender, and I catch Jason's eye, and even though we're far away, we're making eye contact. we both can't believe this is happening, and we both step away from the microphone. We both start screaming. We both start going, "Oh my god!" and laughing. We're in complete overwhelm. Like if I could, I would have run away. I would have run off the stage because it was like too much emotion. But you just sit there and try to play your part. But it was such a memorable moment I will never forget. It's literally like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I don't know what I won some kind of lottery. Thank you, God. You know, and Jason's there too. And they invited us to open several of those special concerts with a little 30-minute set. And so Jason performed 2 solo songs with me. I performed 2 solo songs. He sang and played with me. And then we did 2 Jellyfish songs together or something like that. And it was, you know, while Cheap Tricks, most of them are on the side of the stage watching us. And it's just like the level of concentration to just try to hold it together. Anyway, I'm super thankful for all that craziness.
That's incredible.
Amazing.
That's so cool. The questions are now just flooding in now that people know they can ask questions. But we have another one here. Joe Gibson. He just spun Imperial Drag yesterday, loved it, and he wanted to know how Jellyfish ended up on a Nintendo compilation album.
I don't recall, other than it came as an offer through somebody, our record company, publishing or something. The whole concept for that album was super bizarre since it was video game oriented, and we weren't and aren't gamers. And I mean, Crosby, Stills and Nash is on it. It's just the most bizarre collection of bands. But Andy in particular loved the idea of trying to not write like a Jellyfish song, but really try to write something that involved the storyline of the video game, apparently, which is where all the lyrics come from.
Yeah.
For Ignorance is Bliss. And he just ran with that. Like before I could even think of what I might contribute, he had the song basically finished, melody, chords, lyrics. And then what took long was the 2 of us sitting there and trying to reference, you know, every orchestral influence and stuff I'd learned at music school, and just trying to pull out every tool and trick in the book to create that kind of Warner Brothers, Carl Stalling, classic animated orchestral music. It was a great study course for me, man. I was just like, whoa, I've done almost none of this, but I'm going to do my best to try to do it. And so we set out to do that together.
That's awesome. Awesome stuff. And we have a Della Howells here who says that Circle the Wagons is fabulous. She says Circle the Wagons, which is Sonic Executive Session song. What is the story behind that one, Christian?
Oh, that's heavy. So my father passed away, and I wrote a song about it. But I don't really want to get deep and heavy on a lovely. We've just gone from Mario Brothers to my father passing away.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, Circle the Wagons is.
I think sometimes it's good that they're in there. They come out and they're there, and then they come out, and that's great. If people get moved by it like it's supposed to, then great.
Songs that are written from the heart are the ones that everyone remembers because they're the.
What one?
What's that?
I've still got a heart.
Joe Gibson, after watching that live Jellyfish, said, "Wow, everyone had great hair. Roger still does." Christian, is that a stab at you, do you think?
Well, I had great hair when Jellyfish were out, yeah. It just went...
Well, I'm going to get to some more of these questions in a little bit, but right now I want to talk about your original stuff, Roger, and then we'll get into Imperial Drag, and we'll just touch on your original stuff because I honestly, as ignorant as it is, I just knew Jellyfish, and as people think I have this huge musical, prowess and knowledge, when in reality I find stuff I like and then I listen to it religiously. And then when I found out you did your original stuff and I saw you live, Christian let me know that you guys were playing in California with who was there with you? I believe
was Linus there?
No, Linus wasn't there that day. No, it was Rob Bonfiglio, Chris Price.
Great.
Yeah, amazing lineup, and I got to see that show and some of your original stuff that you played, like "I'm Not Your Cowboy," which was amazing, "Operator," which is from your new Glamping, and "Land of Pure Imagination." Obviously, just all of this stuff is fantastic, and I think "Operator," especially as soon as I heard that, it just stuck with me. It's an incredible piece of music, and I want to. We're going to put the link for that song in the comment section, so anyone who hasn't heard it, you guys can go on and listen to it. But I just wanted to throw that out there and say it's just incredible. And Glamping was actually did you work with Chris Price on that album? Did I?
Well,
right?
yeah. What happened was. So after 2008's second pop solo record of mine called Catnip Dynamite, which was mostly in Japan or whatever, I had basically focused quite heavily on solo material, including even my kind of electronic music thing that I had, which was me basically doing Herbie Hancock and Kraftwerk called Malibu. But I had that 2 records in Japan. So from 2005 to 2008 or so, I was really focused on trying to get some new original music out. Thankfully, it was fantastic in Japan, great response, pockets around the world paid attention. It was very gratifying for me as an artist, et cetera, et cetera. And then I realized I wasn't paying my bills, that this wasn't working out sustainably. People had assumed I was busy. They weren't calling me for sessions, and right. So I had a reality check happened, and then personal changes in my personal life, blah, 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 as we all have. And somewhere around 2014, 2013, I resurfaced as I managed to put some pieces of my life back together. And I'd been introduced to Chris Price through, I think, Fernando Perdomo. I don't remember who introduced us, but Chris had relocated from Florida to LA. And it's hard not to be impressed with his one-man band, John Bryan, I wear 28 hats, so screw you, presence. And he's the one that said, he goes, "What are you doing, and why don't we have new music from you?" And I told him the story I just told you of why you don't have new music from me. And he said, "Well, let's try to figure out a way to change that." So he made himself available to do anything I needed. And I said, "Well, I'm the slowest at lyrics. I love writing them. I think my lyrics are okay, but they take weeks and weeks and weeks. And the song I wrote in 25 minutes. And he said, "I can help you with that." So he started chipping away at lyric ideas, and we massaged them and did that together. And that inspired me to start going home on the computer and just building up tracks. And that was 2013, and the EP didn't come out till 2018. And I'm doing my best, everybody. Life takes you down many rivers.
Well, it's worth it. I think everyone watching can agree. Everything you bring out is worth it. And especially with that new Licorice Quartet EP coming out. It's a 4-song EP, and every song is just a different journey, and you can definitely hear the what every member of the band actually offered to Jellyfish when you guys were around. And we're going to show a clip of that at the end of this TAD Talk. But tell us about Licorice Quartet.
At the beginning of 2017, I had been listening again to the Umajets record that Tim Smith had done with his former partner back in 95, 96, whenever they put that out. And both Eric and I had been peripherally involved in that. I co-produced and played some keyboards and drums and whatever. I helped them out. Eric had come in and helped them out. And there was even a brief time where Eric and I were both in Atlanta together working with them. And so I was just going down memory lane, having fond memories of this. And I said to myself, Jellyfish broke up before Tim and Eric could contribute to the writing of that group. And what a shame. What a shame I've never written with Tim in any way. And so I reached out to him like, "Hey, do you want to do some long distance songwriting for fun?" And he loved the idea. The next time we spoke, he said, what would be wrong with inviting Eric into this? I think it might really enhance this if we did this as a trio. And we both agreed that would be a great idea. I hadn't worked with Eric for quite a while, and we'd taken a break from each other. So now it was as good a time as any to look at that again. And we simply began Tim flew out to LA and we started writing for fun and just to hang out as guys, again, friends, have shared dinner and just start throwing ideas at each other. And it couldn't have gone better. And after the end, about 4 to 5 weeks of writing, we broke it up into pieces. We had about 20 ideas we felt confident about. And then we said, well, now what? And we said, well, I know Jeremy Stacy says he'll drum for us if we ever have any ideas. And so we reached out to him and he said, I will stop whatever I'm doing to help you guys out because I don't know what you're working on, but I bet it's amazing. And it's like, when you have friends like that, it's hard to argue with them. And so we just set it in motion. And because Tim was in Atlanta, I was on tour with Beck. Everybody's, earning a living and committed to lots of different things. We just piecemealed it over the next 3 years. And here we are. We're amazed that it came out. We've basically finished 12 songs. So we have 8 more that we're putting finishing touches on, singing, mixing, stuff needs to be done, but they're very, very close. And we just chose these 4 because we thought it was a best foot forward. Let's go for it.
That's awesome. I know. I mean, everyone's just going, heart reacts are just going up the screen right now. It's awesome. And the fact that you have 8 more songs coming out, are you planning on releasing those as 2 more 4-song EPs, or are you gonna...
That's the plan. No, we'll see how that goes. It really helps given the way that people consume and distribute music these days. It's made a lot of sense to do it that way and just kind of really get into this juicy morsel. And also a lot of what we do has so much fan engagement now, certainly with Zoom calls and interviews. But we're offering, as I did with my glamping campaign, lots of fan interaction. You can go to the website and check it out, but there's lots of offers. And I think that's really created a lot of enthusiasm, particularly, again, for younger fans who are just learning about us. And that's really the goal, is to cast this net as far as possible with the internet, and in a way that radio and MTV wasn't entirely able to do for groups in the past.
Absolutely. We'll get that website and we'll post it in the comments section as well for anyone who wants to check out the album and see those fan opportunities and everything like that. And are you, once this whole thing, COVID, is out of the way and we're back on track, are you going to be touring with Licorice Quartet? I
mean, if there's a game plan in place and it makes, logistical and financial sense. I mean, anybody who's attempted to travel out of their hometown knows what the infrastructure needs to look like. And we're not going to drive around in a van and sleep on friends' floors anymore. We've all already done that. So, if somebody can approach us with some kind of package, we definitely will. But I prefer to be in the studio. Not that I don't enjoy playing live. I mean, half my life is touring the world and playing live with Beck, and it is very fulfilling. It's a great part of what I get to do. But I derive most fulfillment from flushing out original ideas with my friends in the cave.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Again, we'll post that website on the comments section. Please go and check out the album, the EP. It's absolutely amazing. It really is. Right now, we're going to go into the next section of Tad Talk, which is Where in the World is Terry?
Where in the world is Terry?
Where in the world is Terry?
And like I said, Terry is my father. He's usually the one hosting this thing, but he's passed the baton over to me for a few, and I'm glad this is one of the shows he did, because this is a blast. And basically what my dad does is, in Where in the World is Terry, he puts himself, he changes his virtual background. Like, I can do this and change it to Disneyland if I wanted to, something I'm missing right now. I could change it to the Beckhams. I don't know why that's on there, but it is. I could change it to whatever I want. I could even change it to my dad in Mexico, which he hates this picture, so he's going to kill me later. But basically today I'm going to change my background to a music video. And basically, Roger and Christian, you guys have to guess what music video I am in. Okay? So I have 2 each for you guys today, because I think I picked fairly easy-ish ones. So, Roger, I'm going to start with you. Okay.
Aha, take on me.
It is a little drawn, isn't it? It's sketchy. But here we go. Roger, here we go. First one. May take a second here.
Split Ends?
No. You'll get it in just a second.
I'm not supposed to be able to hear anything, right?
No, that'll make it too easy.
Oh, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Video Killed the Radio Star. Absolutely.
Yeah, I should have gotten that earlier. You're right. At least I was in the right decade. When I said Split Ends, I was like, whatever this is pretty new wave.
First, by the way, do you know who plays keyboards on that music video?
Who, me? Do I know?
Yeah, do you know who played keyboards on the music video?
I know.
Well,
I know.
No. Oh, you mean besides Jeff Downs?
Yeah.
Oh, it's yes, it is a cameo of sorts, isn't it? Thomas Dolby?
No. Christian
Hans
Zimmer. That's right.
Hans Zimmer is correct.
Good job.
All right, Christian, it's your turn.
Psycho. Oh, that's calling out the Mick Jagger and David Bowie, right?
Yeah, can you give me the name?
It's a rough one.
It's not the best video I've ever seen. It's not Thriller.
Can you give me a name, Christian? You got it?
Dancing in the Streets.
Absolutely. Nice one. I told you they're easy ones today. All right. Roger, coming back to you.
Oh, okay. I know that.
Good, because I don't. Not yet.
Okay, I'll move out of the way a little bit.
Jamiroquai. What gave it away? I forget what the name of this song is. Something Virtual Insanity, right?
Yes, it is. All right. And Christian, I mean, Roger has 2 out of 2 here. You better get this last one, all right?
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. I see what you've done there.
Yeah.
So that's, what would that be? King is Half Undressed?
Yes, correct.
That one?
The King is Half Undressed.
Deuce.
Ooh. Told you, he knows his jellyfish, Roger. He knows it. Congratulations. 2 out of 2 for both of you. Awesome job. I told you they were fairly easy today. I think I went a little easy on you guys, but it took a second, but it's all good. So I'm going to go back into a couple more of these questions because they're just keeping coming in. A lot of compliments for both of you guys after showing those videos. And huge fan from Las Vegas over here. Love Wish It Would Rain from the first solo album. That's Jeff Celentano, I think is how you pronounce it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, absolutely. And he said, such an amazing composition. Vocal stack is second to none. Could you talk a little about that one?
Wish It Would Rain?
Yeah.
Okay, here's some trivia.
Okay.
The verse and chorus of that song I wrote because Don Was approached Andy and I to write with Brian Wilson. And we had better showed up. We said, well, hey, of course, I didn't want to show up empty-handed. I was like, we got to have something to like play for him, talk about, just get the conversation started. And I had the verse and chorus when I would gibberish, mumble lyrics. I wish it would rain in the chorus, blah, 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 blah. Andy supported the idea and we got to show it to Brian, who also seemed to really be into the idea. In fact, when it gets to the bridge place, and there was no bridge, he's sitting right next to me on the piano and he goes, and then Surfer Girl bridge goes here. And we're like, okay. And he goes, yeah, something like this. And he makes something up on the spot. He just starts singing this bridge, which sounded straight up Beach Boys doo-wop, like very, very like antiquated kind of 60s Beach Boys style. So that was a fond memory. And then somebody tapped him on the shoulder and said, one of his handlers, one of the many caretakers that were around at the time, Brian, it's time for your 2:00 nap. We're going to have to wrap this up. He goes, wow, this was great fun, guys. I got to go take my nap now. Nice meeting you. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Oh my gosh.
And we're all like, okay, this is just the greatest moment and most tragic moment for us in our career. Thank you, Don Wood. Anyway, we assume we get together and do it again because it seemed to be capable, the three of us doing that. And then I don't know what happened. I don't think Don ended up working. Well, Don certainly didn't do a record with him. And for some reason, it didn't progress. So I had that idea sitting around for years. And I was like, screw this, man. I want to finish this. I believe in it. And I flushed it out by myself, for better or worse. So that's what Wish It Would Rain is all about.
That's awesome. Such great stories. I love it. We have a Carl Morgan on here that says, any new music coming out soon, Christian? Maybe Roger and a song together.
Right. So
Never
Carl, during lockdown, I've been, Carl and I started making a CD of covers. We did Mr. Blue Sky. We've got Never Let Us Slip Away, Andrew Gold. So Carl is an amazing songwriter from South Wales, where he does things like he did the Tom Cruise film American Made. He does any huge advertising campaign worldwide. Chances are Carl's written for it. So he just let me play in his particular sandbox while we're in lockdown, because I can't get anywhere near those songs when he's out doing his thing in the real world. And we made a video. We did Obla Di Obla Da was the first cover, and the amount of people that said to Carl, "Oh, it's really great. You let your dad be in the video." That was it felt so good after that. Yeah, it's good time.
All of these answers are great. We have so many people now. I'm going to try to get to all, if not most, if not all of these questions. But we have a Dezuko Haniwa, again, apologies if I said that wrong. He read that there was a bunch of songs on your solo albums that were supposed to be for the third Jellyfish album. Do you remember which ones those were?
Let's see. Well, not necessarily. I mean, the third Jellyfish album was only talked about. We didn't get as far as what's going to be on it. But songs like Land of Pure Imagination was one that, again, we always kind of had hovering over here. Should we develop it? Gosh, I have to look at the playlist. Sleep Children was one that, but again, you have to remember, when I was working with Andy, those ideas were incomplete. So maybe I had the chorus, or maybe I had the verse that I loved, verse and a bridge, whatever. And the idea was to finish them together. So obviously the lyric would have been different sections. They could have taken all kinds of trajectories. I finished them the way I had heard them. But those are two that come to mind.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we have a Larry Hampton who saw Jellyfish in their prime in '93 live. And he said that everything, the execution of the harmonies, the instrumentation, the intricacies of everything were just spot on. He wants to know how long the band had to rehearse in order to get everything so tight as it did live.
You just
do it
all day. I mean, you do it till it's right. And one of the things that I learned very early on in Belly Button that would help all of us is I would sing, I would part out everybody's vocal harmony part and sing their part for them over the song. And then everybody would take their cassette home. And there's not that they couldn't have done this themselves, but because Andy and I had arranged the vocal parts, I knew very quickly what their note division should be. And everybody would take home their cassette and listen to it in the car and travel around with it and listen to it in the shower, right? So all they're learning is their own melody, the same way vocal groups have done it for centuries. And this wasn't anything new. And I understood that if we could get it to that level where you're doing it in your sleep, then no matter how crappy the PA was, no matter how shitty the club was you were playing in, whatever was going to, no matter how many cute girls were in the front row, you weren't going to get distracted, and you had your part nailed. And that just comes through repetition.
Yeah.
Any performing musician will tell you that. So it was just like, okay, here we go again. and one of the things Jason was really good at, we'd be on tour, driving to the club or trapped somewhere away from our instruments, and Jason would, because he either has perfect pitch or relative pitch, but he would give us our key center, and me, Chris, and Jason would just drill our harmony parts together, away from our instruments, away from the microphones, and so it became a way of life.
Absolutely. I think because these are just coming in, I think we're only going to have time for 2 more of these viewer questions here, but one of them here is, how was it working with Ringo Starr? What was the story behind that?
That came through the generosity of Don Was again, who fortunately had fallen in love with the Belly Button record and was looking for writers for the Ringo album he was producing. And we submitted 5 song ideas for that, I think all of which made it onto the 4 CD rarities set that we released in the mid 2000s. But fortunately, he and Ringo liked one of them, and that's the one that got fleshed out for the album. Ringo was there some of the time. Again, we did like some clapping and percussion stuff with him, and I think we probably took more photos with him than we actually like played instruments. The giant PR campaign that it became, but just so thankful for that opportunity.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna ask this question to both of you, although it was directed to Roger, but it's a great question about Spilt Milk. Do you have a favorite song on the album, and do you view any song as underrated on Spilt Milk?
Christian, you go first.
Oh wow, okay. I mean, that album is a big deal for me. You know, it taught me a lot about arranging and songwriting. You know, I love the string arrangement on Russian Hill. I love the orchestration on that, and I love that solo when you got the vibraphones on it and the flutes. There's something like, you know, Joining the Fan Club is one of my favorite songs ever. But Russian Hill has got that thing. Can you get that thing where a song, it doesn't feel like it's a song anymore. It's just got such an amazing atmosphere. That one, that song. Amazing.
Great song. All right,
that's a huge compliment, because I know the depth of musician that Christian is responding to the depth and labor of love that a song like Russian Hill was for us.
Well, I'm like a member in the Licorice Quartet.
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
I'm hoping I can be the 4th member in the Licorice Quartet.
Right. Hence the name. Yeah. Anything's possible in this day and age. All bets are off with what we got going on in the world at the moment. So, yeah.
Roger, how about you?
I don't have a favorite song. Obviously, every tune has a piece of my heart in there. I was very proud of Sabrina, Paste and Play-Doh, because it's so damn short, and it literally is like, if there was ever doubt in any of your mind, it's like a commercial for Jellyfish. What we're about, it just completely encapsulates all of our assets, like in one quick journey. I love the super heavy and super sweet aspect of that song, and that all the songs, of course, were experiments. You have a vision and dream of what it could be, but until you start chipping away and building the thing, you don't know if it's going to get conveyed. And that song I had such high hopes for it, and I'm very proud of what we got. But yeah, because that's basically how I heard it in my head, and Andy as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Nick, can I just say something really quickly? So, Rod, what you don't know about The Girl, all the key changes at the end of that song. I mean, it's amazing, but what made you think that it needed that many? Because it did. It just keeps going up and up and up. What was the idea behind that?
So I love harmony, and I love harmony architecture, and many greats like Burt Bacharach, for example, have come before us in terms of pop writing. Certainly score in cinema, and people understand the power of key centers and chromaticism and the jazz community. They do that falling off of whatever the phrase is. They they grew up understanding that. A lot of pop artists don't, nor do they value it. They don't care about it, and that's fine. I have loved when my heroes have very subtly and gently and economically use the power of harmony. But to answer your question, how did I know? I didn't. So I had the kernel of the song idea, the genesis of it, and then I try to stick to the philosophy of allow the song to be what it wants to be. Forget about cliche, stereotype, tradition, trying to reinvent the wheel. Just what is the song calling out for in terms of arrangement? And I heard those types of things, and I went through lots of trial and error, and finally arrived at that, because it's right. Whatever's going to allow you to keep pushing the sentiment, driving the sentiment home. That's the job of the arrangement. So from one musician to another, that's I know you get it.
I love that.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Well, we have two more questions before we have to unfortunately call it a day on this TAD Talk, but it's questions we ask on every TAD Talk, and I love them both. And the first question I'm going to direct to you first, Christian.
Okay.
So, question is, you're going to get 2 calls tomorrow from 2 musical artists asking you to collaborate on their next album or their next song or their next EP. Who do you hope is on the end of that phone?
Oh my God. One of them would probably be Paul McCartney, because he's Paul McCartney. And who wouldn't want the call from him? And he's asking me if we can write the sequel to Ram.
That's an important stipulation.
Yeah. Yeah. And another strange one. I mean, I wouldn't want to collaborate. I just want to sit in the studio and watch them work. Would be Take 6. It's one of my favorite vocal harmony groups of all time. And what they do is musical maths that still sounds beautiful. You know, I've worked out a bunch of those arrangements, and you think, how did anyone think this would work? And yet it becomes the most beautiful piece of music you've ever heard. So those 2.
Awesome answers. Roger, you get 2 calls tomorrow from 2 musical artists. Who do you hope is on the end of that phone asking you to collaborate on their next project?
One would definitely be Elvis Costello.
Nice.
And again, it'd be more about me just watching him work. In other words, I don't have any ideas sitting around that I'm like, oh, I want to show this to Elvis. He's going to really get a kick out of this. He's going to tell me how great I am. No, it's more about learning from the masters and being in the company of them. And but I think I'm very much a fan, speaking of Paul McCartney, of the music that he and Elvis wrote together, that brief period in the late 80s. So many amazing tunes came out of that collaborative moment. And the best part about it is you can kind of hear Elvis and kind of hear Paul McCartney. It's literally a fusion. I would long for anything remotely like that in engaging with him.
Okay.
And the other one would be Burt Bacharach, actually, for similar but very different reasons, because Burt comes from so much more of a jazz tradition of the 40s, 50s, 60s of pop songwriting, and then he really creates this very modern, forward-thinking, hip sound for the time in the 60s. And I would enjoy learning how he uses jazz harmony for those song creations, and just again what drives him, because he's not, by his own admission, he hasn't sung 90% of what he's written.
Yeah.
So how on earth does his music become as lyrical for vocalists as it does? Because the man has a very low baritone voice that you don't equate with his Dionne Warwick, Karen Carpenter lyrical melodies. Anyway, again, just like get some of those vibes coming through my ears.
Definitely. Great answers, both of you. Awesome answers. And last question of the day, Christian, I'm going to start with you again. So for the next hour, you can spend the next hour with any two people, dead or alive, anywhere in the world. Who are you going to spend that hour with? Where are you going to spend it? And what are you going to talk about?
Right. Okay. Well, seeing as we're on a lovely musical trip here, it would be at the piano with Gordon Jenkins, who was one of my all-time favorite arrangers. He did, Nat King Cole and Sinatra. And one of my favorite albums of all time is A Touch of Schmielsen in the Night, the Nielsen album, where he did the American Songbook. So Gordon Jenkins and then Gene Perling the other side saying, so Gordon Jenkins would be showing you what the flutes and the rest of the woodwinds and the clarinets and the strings would be doing. And then Gene Perling would be telling you what the harmonies were going to be on the top of it. And I just sit in the middle of that music. I'd be the filling in a musical sandwich. What an hour that would be.
Absolutely. An hour's not enough.
No, it wouldn't be.
What about you, Roger? Next hour you can spend with any two people, dead or alive. Who are you going to spend it with? What are you going to talk about? And where are you going to be?
Well, definitely one of them would be, there's so many, but Thomas Dolby comes to mind. It's pretty obvious. He's primarily an arranger via keyboards. But he's also a songwriter, singer. He's done it all. I very much, even to this day, after decades of music making have gone by, I really relate to him as an arranger and what you can do with synthesis, and still keeping it catchy and pop and those types of things. And I really enjoy his personality that ends up on his music as well. And probably the other person would have to be Andy Partridge. And I say that because the music of XTC was, whenever I doubted, what do I want to do with music? What I want to do, is music my life? What do I want to say musically? Whenever I doubted my own abilities, my own voice, or even questioning what other trends were popular, what does the world seem to be enjoying versus what pushes my buttons?
Yeah.
And what inspires me? And very often I was at odds with what the rest of the world seemed to be enjoying, in terms of populace, the top of the bell curve versus these fringe areas that I seem to be enjoying. And the music of XTC always affirmed to me that it was just so life affirming. They were all the things I loved about 60s rock pop and psychedelia, but very much on their own terms, very much with their own sound. Again, it was all the classicism of great pop songwriting throughout the decades, but with their very, very personal twist on it. And then all the wonderful arrangement and musicianship ideas. I basically studied at their college probably more than anyone along the way. And just to hang out, experience. I have met Andy, but I haven't spent any extended time with him, and would probably love to collaborate. Let's write an idea from scratch. And because one of the things Christian was talking about, the key changes and what you don't know about the girl, but I really enjoyed some of the classic progressive rock bands of the golden era of progressive rock, the Genesises and Yeses and all that stuff. And what I always loved about that kind of music was the fact that guitar, keyboard, bass, drums, same basic instruments that most bands have used, could transport me into another emotional space, literally make me forget where I was, almost out of body without the catalyst of ingesting some kind of illegal substance. How that was even possible. I was endlessly fascinated by that. And it's the same jigsaw puzzle as everybody else. Melody sitting on top of harmony over a certain rhythm, realizing a lyrical vision. There's no rules. Everybody go. And I loved that XTC could do that to me so fast. Within 30 seconds, I'm in their world, and I just want to float in it. and I want to sing along, even though they're like in this weird non-60s period of early punk and art wave. Like, it's such a bizarre time in British music making. But all the foundational important aspects that I value in pop songwriting, they had not forgotten, because they were kids of the 60s. They were teenagers during, the Pink Floyd and Beatle eras and all the great jazzers of the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to hang out with him and soak some of that in a deep, deep way.
Skylark, one of those albums that everyone should have. It's like, Todd Rundgren produced it, didn't he? That was that the album Todd did, and they didn't get on. They made some good music together.
I know. It's freaking frightening. Season Cycle is a song you'll know from that album. That's a perfect example of follow what the song muse is telling you to go. Oh, we're going to make a little detour into this compartment, but it's not going to be so weird that we're going to lose you and you're still floating into the... Anyway, that's just how you do it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. Absolutely. This has been such an incredible TAD Talk, inspirational and informative and just amazing in every way. And we have so many people watching, just giving both of you praises beyond praises. And it's been an honor for me. I was first inspired by Sonic Executive Sessions, and then I found out that he was inspired by you. And now it's just this big old inspirational TAD Talk. It's fantastic. So thank you both for being here today. Truly, truly appreciate it. It has been absolutely amazing in every way. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. This has been a real treat. And I like that it's been, I'm on a lot of Zoom calls with 58 people. And I like that it's just been the three of us getting into each other's psyches around this stuff. It's always fun.
Absolutely. Well, as promised, we're going to show you a song from the new and amazing Licorice Quartet to end out the show. Thank you guys once again. We'll be back tomorrow with another incredible TAD Talk. Until then, have a great one, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Neil.
Bye.
The way you want to see, for everyone's own move is through an altered lens. And I'll be you, and if we do If distress you're feeling, overhead clouds loom. From a lighthouse spaceship, I'll send a beacon out to you. If the stormy weather's loosened up your screws, in a lighthouse spaceship, I'll find a way to you. If distress you're feeling, free God specials you. In a lighthouse spaceship, bring you in from the typhoon. Copy the day signal and keep your bearings true. In my lighthouse spaceship, gonna find a way to you, to you. If distress you're feeling,